Hey everyone, it's Omnibus Jax. I wanted to make a video talking about some controversies in the statue community. I'm sure everybody's noticed that there's pricing that has increased substantially. So for example, like some of my statues that I have, like this dog runner alien that's down the bottom, that statue retailed for $17.99, and that's the DX version. And that was in 2017. The new one, the regular version goes for $19.99, and then the DX or the deluxe version of it goes for like $2,200 or something, which is really cheap. But then we have new statues coming out that are arguably a lot smaller and less intricate that are going for deluxe editions of like $3,400. And this is specifically talking about licensed statues. So that's just an example of like how things have gone up in price and how they're substantially more than what they used to be. So that's actually not what I'm talking about, but it does kind of intertwine. So when AI comes in, and I see it a lot, I see it every day, I see it used for thumbnails, I see it used for artwork, I see it used for all sorts of things. Now, if you are a supporter of AI, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be insulting you. So prepare yourself for being insulted a little bit. And the reason why I say this is because I believe that I got into this hobby because I collect art. And when it comes to the subject of art, I believe it requires an artist. I believe it requires someone who is sculpting it from the ground up and all themselves from research that they've put into the subject. And that research will reflect in their work, whether it is slight, issues or inaccuracies or the personal artist's interpretation. All of those things are very vital to creating a piece of artwork, specifically sculpture. And I would argue that everyone that collects statues on here or on, from Prime One or wherever it is, whatever company it is, they all would argue that they collect art. Now, when it comes to the subject of AI and how much it's being used in the statue community by companies, hopefully not yet, but we're going to get into that. But specifically by content creators, people that inspire the statue community, people who post AI art on social media and all of these platforms, or even just create images all the time to share it and whatnot. And I'm not going to get into the absolute detrimental environmental impact it has on water systems and the environment. I'm not going to discuss that because that's a different subject. It very much is a part of it. But when it comes to what we do as far as collecting artwork and statues and so on and so forth, with all the prices rising and prices increasing on all of these statues, at what point do our companies that make our statues start to use AI? Have they already started to use it? Have they already cut the artist's pay out of it? Because we do know that a lot of these companies don't treat the artists very well, because these companies are just profit only and competition only. And so we see signs with things like loyalty programs or VIP programs for people that have a lot of money. So catering to the wealthier collector is the wrong pursuit, because your bread and butter is what makes your company. It sustains your company. It gets you through the hard times. I'm a business owner myself, and I know that if I only cater to wealthy people, the drop off, the stress that comes with only catering to the very wealthy is not worth it. But when it comes to your bread and butter people, they're down to earth, they're normal, they like to discuss details, they like to get into like a bang for their buck, so you're getting a better statue, you're getting a better thing, because a lot of people just that have a lot of money, no offense to wealthy people watching, but they really just want the item. They don't necessarily want it because they love the film or the subject. They just want the item, which is fine in itself. But when it comes to AI and being used in our community, I think eventually we are going to have to get to the point where AI is going to need to be stated. Or these companies are going to have to start coming out with statements saying no AI was used in the statue, or they're going to have to disclose if it was. Because personally, I will never own an AI statue. I don't care how interesting it looks or how fascinating it is, I will never own it. So then the counter thing is that sure, we just collect the object itself. I mean, we just collect these statues and that's what we do. So the argument is that, well, what happens if AI just makes a better statue? And then people say, well, it's just a tool. And it's a tool being used to create something, kind of like digital sculpting versus classic sculpting. And I will say that even with the 3D printing and the digital sculpting, the classic statues that are hand sculpted are still classics. They're still expensive. And to be honest, they still are the top tier of the collecting community. Because they're obviously, they're more solid. A lot of these the ones that even the ones I have that are obviously 3D printed are very fragile. I mean, they've got very fragile parts on them that are delicate and tiny. And even though they look great, I don't know if I would really, they're kind of like between a statue and something else. That's how I describe them. When it comes to an actual statue itself, like constructed and solid, the classic pieces are, I mean, nothing beats them. And there are a lot of people like ECC. I know they sculpt from hand a lot of time. And some companies like PCS has even said that they sculpt from hand. They got a problem with their painting apps, but whatever. And I do enjoy my Species statue from them down the bottom, but still they got to get that painting app under control. And I understand they're trying to save money, but they got to get it under control. So anyway, the argument is that AI is just a tool. I don't think so. I think AI is, it's faster, it's easier, it's cheaper. And from a corporate standpoint, that is very enticing because a true artist is expensive. An artist who's going to take their time and do their research. Now you come into the issue of, with AI, things being very inaccurate because it looks cool. And when it comes to film statues, which is what I primarily collect, film and video game, there's not really room for interpretation. Artist interpretation doesn't exist when it comes to these statues. And I'm sure you've seen my videos where I've been very hard ass on the design and sculpt and stuff like that to be accurate, especially with alien stuff. And that right there with film statue collecting, and that is specifically why I collect it, is because I don't want to have some artist interpretation of something unless it's just really interesting and super cool and sculpted by hand. Then I'm like, okay, like the Pan's Labyrinth one by ECC that just came out. That one's awesome. But when it comes to film stuff, I want it to be authentic. And I also want the artist to do the research themselves. I want them to go to, H.R. Giger's museum in Greer to actually photograph the original suits, the original fiberglass statue. I want them to go in there and collect the data, count the vertebrae, do all that stuff, and then come back and use it to sculpt their statue, whether it's physical sculpting or it's 3D sculpting. That, to me, is what I want as a statue. I do not want something when you plug it in and say alien or whatever, and it gives you just a rendered queen alien, but it's got inaccuracies. I can tell that it's been mashed together from all sorts of crap. And then it comes into what AI really, where do they get that data? Where does it create these images? Where does it get that information? It's technically stolen data. I mean, it's been proven many times that there's been artists that have had AI images that have seen a vague part of their signature in other people's work. So it's technically stolen information. Now, this is where my big controversial thing is, because almost everyone I know in the community uses AI. And especially for like artwork, or they think it's cool, they share it. But specifically, I think AI is designed for people who do not have artistic talent to feel cool. And I know that's a bad controversial take. It's hard, but it's the hard truth. And I think artists should be respected for being artists, and they deserve it. If AI takes over, and corporations will love to use it to take over, we can already see it everywhere we look. But specifically in this field, if they take over, our statues are going to become, in my opinion, worthless. Now, if I found out that some of my statues, they used AI to do the sculpting with the face sculpt or something like that, or rendering the skin, I think I might get rid of my statue. I'm not even lying. Even though I like it, I'd be like, you know what? I think I just can't have this because it's not a real piece of art. It's a digital stolen piece of data that is run through a system to look cool. Now, I don't think that that's what it is, but I do think that the statue community should start talking about this more and specifically pushing these companies to disclose whether they use it, and also if they don't use it, it should be celebrated within the community. That's my video for today. I think that is something that needs to come up. I wanted to do it face forward instead of me just talking to with pictures or whatever in the background, because I'm not going to post those AI thumbnails as examples. I'm not going to do it. I just don't even, I hate them. They drive me crazy, even for film stuff, and there's even, Black Myth, it was Black Myth Wukong, but they're doing Black Myth something else, like an Indian video game. They specifically came out, and there's an article about it. They came out and they said, we are inspired by The Odyssey, the film The Odyssey, the Christopher Nolan movie that just came out, because there's very little CGI in it. It's all practical. But there is CGI, but it's not like modern day films with green screen everywhere. So they were inspired, and they're not going to be using any AI in their video game, not in the tools, not in any of the information, not in rendering, nothing. And to me, that makes me more interested to buy the product, because I know that there's real artists sculpting and doing the research to make sure it's like exactly what they want, instead of a computer punching out some information. And then people say, oh, well, you have to go and do classes for AI. I'm sorry, but it's not like doing an art class. It's not like sculpting. It's not but like being inspired by something. It doesn't work. It's not a modern tool. It is bad. It's a sign of profit over quality. That's all it is. Anyway, so give me your thoughts and how you feel about that. But I think it's a subject that really needed to be discussed, and no one's talking about it. And then I also will be getting my Bloodborne Gehrman statue soon, which I'll unbox. I think it's about to ship. And then, shockingly enough, I did get an Eileen the Crow from a waitlist on Prime One. And I'm in the process of finishing the payments on that one. And that one's a 7-year-old waitlist. It's very strange. So give me your thoughts on the AI subject, and pay attention to my channel, because I will be doing some new stuff. Anyway, I appreciate it, and thanks for coming to my channel and hearing my thoughts.